the legacy. And so, the Middle Ages were built not just on crusades and tournaments, but on contradictions. Wars that failed yet sparked progress, sports that celebrated honor but risked death, prophecies that misled yet inspired, and mothers who carried society forward through love and loss. When you step back, you realize this era wasn't only mud, plague, and superstition. It was also about discovery, resilience, spectacle, and survival. The Crusades gave Europe spices, sugar, paper, and stories. Just gave knights identity and kings propaganda. The Pythia gave rulers riddles that steered empires. And medieval mothers, through sacrifice, risk, and courage, gave the world its future. So next time you think of the Middle Ages as just a dark and dreary time, remember the chaos was also transformation. Out of confusion came culture. Out of tragedy came progress. And out of mud, disease, and blood came a Europe stumbling, blindly but surely, into the modern world. Motherhood, the silent battlefield. And behind the noise of knights and kings lay another battlefield. Motherhood. For peasants, it was about survival. Children meant labor. More hands for plows, more chances for survival. For noble women, it was about dynasties. Produce heirs or face disgrace. But childbirth was perilous across all classes. Women died in labor as often in castles as in cottages. Infants perished by the dozens. Mothers buried babies in unmarked graves and tried again. Grief stitched into daily life. Religion sanctified it. Prayers to Mary, charms of Saint Margaret, baptism within days to save fragile souls. Yet amid sorrow, there was resilience. Mothers sang lullabies, whispered prayers, carved toys from scraps. They raised children to endure poverty, taught prayers and discipline, and hoped against hope that at least one child would outlive them. Their love, quiet but unyielding, was the glue that held medieval life together. The Oracle of Delphi, ancient echoes. Far away in Greece, another voice shaped destiny. The Pythia of Delphi. A woman seated on a tripod over a sacred fissure, inhaling vapors, speaking Apollo's riddles. Kings hung on her words. Colonies were founded by her counsel. A prophecy once told Croesus of Lydia that if he attacked Persia, a great empire would fall. He assumed it meant Persia. It was his own. The Pythia's power wasn't in clarity. It was in ambiguity. She turned politics into prophecy, weaving mystery into the very fabric of decision-making. Jousting, the knightly theater. While crusaders spilled blood abroad, knights back home sought glory in tournaments. Early justs were chaotic brawls, horses trampling, barns destroyed, men killed. But over time, rules emerged. 2 knights, 1 tilt, 1 chance to shatter lances and prove honor. It wasn't just sport, it was theater. Heraldry painted every shield with family stories. Ladies tied favors to arms, turning each charge into a declaration of love. Kings hosted tournaments as political theater, dazzling nobles and intimidating rivals. The risks were real, broken ribs, concussions, even death. Yet knights embraced it. Honor was worth bruises, sometimes even worth dying for. The accidental renaissance. And that's the irony. The Crusades failed their stated goal. Jerusalem rarely stayed Christian for long. Millions died. Cities burned. But by blundering east, you accidentally dragged Europe into the future. Spices sparked global trade. Paper replaced clunky parchment. Gothic cathedrals rose, inspired by mosques and domes you gawked at. Algebra and astronomy crept into universities. Even words like sugar and cotton slipped into everyday speech. You didn't mean to start a cultural revolution, you just wanted loot. But history doesn't care about intent. The stories you tell. But here's the beauty of medieval storytelling. Nobody back home knows the truth. You limp into the tavern, sunburned, scarred, smelling faintly of camel. And instantly, you're a legend. You talk about slaying 10 knights with 1 hand, scaling Jerusalem's walls barefoot, or dueling Saladin personally. Who's going to fact-check you? Nobody. Suddenly, you're not the guy who stole cabbages, you're a crusader. A hero. The truth. Plague, boredom, dysentery, stays hidden. The legend shines. Meeting the enemy. And then there's Saladin. Back home, you were told Muslims were monsters. But when you meet Saladin, the man bathes regularly, fights with brilliance, and even sends fruit and ice to sick enemies like Richard the Lionheart. Meanwhile, your own leaders argue over moldy bread. Suddenly, you're not sure who the real barbarian is. Yet, when you return home, the bards rewrite it. Saladin becomes a terrifying villain, not the noble rival you actually saw. Holy war or business trip? Of course, not everyone is fighting for faith. Venice turns the Crusades into a gold mine. While you starve in deserts, Venetian merchants sell overpriced bread, wine, and ships. By the Fourth Crusade, things spiral completely. Instead of reaching Jerusalem, you sack Constantinople, burning libraries, looting relics, even stealing bronze horses for decoration back in Venice. A holy war that missed the target entirely and hit the wrong continent. You thought you were warriors of God. Turns out you were unpaid security for Venetian bankers. Constantinople, a new world. Then, like a vision, Constantinople rises on the horizon. You've seen fences, maybe a stone wall or two, but these walls, they scrape the heavens. Inside the city, everything stuns you. Fountains that actually work, mosaics glittering like captured light, and food that makes your stomach weep with joy. Pepper bites your tongue, cinnamon soothes your soul, and sugar, sweet, crystalline, addicting, hits you like medieval cocaine. One candied fig and you suddenly understand why nobles go bankrupt for it. Back home, dinner is gruel and despair. Here, food is an experience. And Constantinople isn't just flavor, it's culture. Libraries stuffed with knowledge your priest would happily burn. Doctors who wash their hands. Engineers who build aqueducts that still run after centuries. For the first time, you realize your village's muddy well isn't peak civilization. You don't mean to, but you're soaking up knowledge, medicine, architecture, even new words like algebra, bazaar, cotton. You'll drag these ideas back west, reshaping Europe without even trying. The march east. By the second week, you're trudging along muddy roads with thousands of others. Morale is sky high, but intelligence is not. The man next to you thinks Jerusalem is 2 days away. The barefoot fellow on the other side has already lost a toe. Yet, in the chaos, there's purpose. The church isn't just promising heaven. It's cleverly solving Europe's HR crisis by shipping out restless warriors. Instead of raiding pigs, you're raiding civilizations. It's career advancement, medieval style. But reality soon bites. Disease rips through the camp. Dysentery becomes a more reliable killer than swords. Food vanishes. You start to suspect that maybe this is less divine pilgrimage and more medieval death march. And yet, you push forward. Because for the first time in your life, you're not trapped in a cabbage-scented village. You're on an adventure. Hey everyone. Tonight we're going on one of the wildest journeys in history, the Crusades. Before we set out, take a second to like this video, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I love seeing how far these stories travel, sometimes further than medieval armies ever did. Now, dim the lights, settle in, and picture this. The year is 1095. The bored knight's problem. You're a knight, and life is painfully dull. No wars to fight, no noble tournaments, not even a decent tavern brawl. Your armor shines, but only because you keep polishing it. Your horse is more moody than heroic. And the highlight of your week? Harassing the local miller for extra flour. You're one mug of ale away from slipping into total irrelevance. Then Pope Urban II takes the stage at Claremont. His speech is electric, salvation, forgiveness, eternal glory, and he dangles the ultimate bait. Fight for God instead of stabbing each other. To you, it's a lifeline. To Europe, it's a sales pitch that suddenly gives every unemployed knight something to do. Overnight, swords are sharpened, shields dusted, and peasants, armed with pitchforks and saucepans, tag along. What forms isn't so much an army as a wandering, confused carnival with divine branding.